Hello, Clarkston. Welcome to a special edition of Real Learning, where we're highlighting the things that make the Clarkston Community Schools special. Today we have guests with us. We have Elizabeth Walker, who's the principal at Sashabaw Middle School, along with Wendy Osterman, who is a math teacher, a Cultures of Thinking coordinator, and school improvement coordinator. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So Liz and Wendy, will you take just a moment to tell us a little bit about your educational backgrounds?
Okay, I'll start. I did my undergraduate studies at Central Michigan University. I was an English and PE minor, and then I did my graduate program through the University of Michigan and received my degree in public administration.
I did my undergraduate studies at Western Michigan University, and I have majors in both computer science and mathematics. And I did my graduate studies at Michigan State University in educational leadership.
Wonderful. So we have Chippewa, Broncos,
I know.
Spartan, Wolverine.
Natural enemies.
And you work very well together. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you come in is because of the amazing culture that you've created at Sashabaw Middle School. And I know you've had many people come and visit, teachers from other schools, professors from universities, along with our state superintendent. And so can you share with our community a little bit about the ways that you've gone about creating that culture and the things that make it special?
Well, one thing that we do is we talk about what we value and what's important to us. And so our true focus is on that, on what we value. We look at it through the 8 cultural forces, which is part of Harvard's Project Zero. And so everything we do is kind of encompassed in those things. So that includes our environment, and we're very specific on the way that we treat our environment, our interactions and relationships with each other as staff members and community and with students. Those things are really important. So that helps start to create that culture. And then we start looking at providing opportunity to both our students and our staff to continue to grow by allowing time. So those 8 forces are a huge component of how we keep focused to continue to grow that culture too.
Yeah, and I think that we really value the time that we have to learn and share and grow together. And sometimes we make mistakes and we laugh about it and learn from it. And we take risks. And I think that that's really helped our culture, and it makes it a good place to work.
And it seems like the teachers really work collaboratively there, and I know you've been very intentional about that. So Wendy, can you talk a little bit about that collaboration and how it works, what makes it work?
Sure. That collaboration is so important, and it happens in so many different ways. And sometimes it's the informal conversations that we have in the hallways and the 5 minutes between the classes that we have, and we'll just talk about something that happened, and what do you think about this, or what about this student? And it's those informal conversations. Sometimes if we need to get together and collaborate about a specific student, we'll do that, and we'll take time and make sure that we meet those needs. The biggest one, though, is really our department level professional learning communities. And with our PLCs, as we call them, we get together, and what it looks like is that we're around a table and we're sharing ideas, and we're looking at students' thinking, and we're looking for evidence of understanding, and we're looking for evidence of not understanding too, so that we can help those students. We do video protocols where we'll videotape something that's happening in our classroom, and then we'll ask each other for input and feedback. And really everything is really pretty easygoing when we're working together. And we feel really comfortable with each other and asking each other questions and saying sometimes, I don't really know what to do. Can you help me? And I think that that collaboration has been just a key to our success at the whole building.
And I know it's taken several years to build that, where you've used that last protocol, as you mentioned, where you're looking together at students' thinking, and you've done the peer observations and things. So
Correct.
I'm sure people were a little bit reluctant at first, but then that trust built over time, and you guys really stuck with it year after year. So it takes a lot of time to build that culture. So Liz, I know that student assessment and feedback are really important, that you use some formative processes. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Absolutely. We actually have a team at Sashabaw Middle School. It's our FAME group, which stands for Formative Assessment for Michigan Educators. And it's a small group of teachers that work in lots of different department areas. And it's kind of like a grassroots campaign to help inspire the rest of our staff. We use learning targets, so instead of just saying, hey, do page 50, numbers 1 through 10, we're actually looking at the actual learning that the students are going to do, and those are posted on the board so that students know, oh, this is what I'm going to be learning today. I'm learning how to multiply fractions or whatever it may be. And then why? Why do you need to know this information? So students are really in charge of their own learning. And then during the time period in the class, the teachers are looking at the students in a formative way, like little mini assessments almost, even if just checking for understanding daily, instead of just waiting till the big chapter test at the end. We're not sure that the students are learning and thinking if we're not doing these formative assessment things. So just kind of a switch in how we even just talk to our students with our language and kind of putting them in charge of their own thinking.
Because it takes sometimes many months to get back assessment results from the state, so we really need ongoing things to look at where students are and then to have the students know the learning targets, as you mentioned, have them involved in the process. So Wendy, when I visit the middle school, I really see teachers and students connecting, and it seems like students feel confident and comfortable. I know I've heard some stories from both of you about the growth of students and that huge transition from our 7 elementary schools to 1 large middle school. So can you talk a little bit about how those relationships between students and teachers and how that occurs?
Sure. So one thing that Liz had said earlier about our forces and making sure that we have time, but content's really important. I love math, and it's hard for me not to love math and to show that love to my students, but more than math, I love these students and I care about their well-being, and so it's really important that I take the time to listen to their needs and listen to their thinking and making sure that they feel valued and making sure that they realize that I'm in this with them, and whether they become a mathematician or not, I want to make sure that I make a difference, and I want to make sure that they feel that difference every single day. And I would say that that's not just in my classroom, that's everywhere. It's in the hallways, it's in the classrooms, it's in the cafeterias, it's throughout the whole entire building. And I think that having that time and building those relationships is going to be extremely important in their futures.
And Liz, I know there have been we've had some transition at the middle school over the last 5 or 6 years with different principals, and yet that culture has remained very strong and grown. It's not as if we've gone from one principal to another and switched directions. So how have you gone about sustaining that and building upon it?
Well, part of that is your vision and Clarkston's vision of cultures of thinking and creating a culture in Clarkston. And so that's why a lot of transition hasn't changed, but really it's the staff there. I mean, they're experts in their field and they care deeply about our students. And so I am just a facilitator of that. I can help bring in information and allow us some time together and create different little subsections of meetings and try and gather as much information as possible, but they're really the ones doing all of the boots on the ground work. I mean, so without them, I mean, that's really how this is all continued to grow and continue to move because of their excitement about their growth as professionals. So really it's the staff and the teachers that should receive all of the credit.
Everybody
for that.
working together.
Absolutely.
And I know, Wendy, we've talked a little bit about how you go in your classroom and you give students feedback when they're assessing. So it's not as if they have to wait to get a grade back a few days later from you. They get feedback right away. How do you go about doing that?
So Liz had talked about formative assessment, and I think that what's really important is that if learning is continuous, then we have to have continuous assessment and feedback, and not assessment in the traditional sense, but in that formative assessment. I think that having learning targets, shared learning targets with the students so that they know every single day what that goal is, and making sure that they interact with that goal and understand what that goal is. So it's not just tasks like you're talking about. some of my feedback that I've been doing, and other teachers as well, is sometimes we'll just stop and do a little checkup with the students, and we'll ask them some questions. The students are getting comfortable with understanding where they are as far as their learning is progression, because learning is a progression. It doesn't end. So we have to keep making sure that these students understand that. And it's okay if they don't understand something. So sometimes we'll give a little checkup, and then we'll say, well, where are you right now? Are you at that beginning stage? Are you at that developing stage? Are you at that secure stage? And then I use that to move forward with my instruction, just as much as the students use that feedback. Some other ways that I personally have feedback is that after every single traditional type of assessment, quizzes and tests, I meet with my students one-on-one, and we have a little mini conference. And again, the students know that it's really not about the grade, it's really that process of learning. And if there's something that they still need to learn, then I'm there for them. And we'll discuss that as I'm handing that quiz back. And it's very non-intimidating, and the students get it, and they ask questions. And so they're part of that feedback process too. They guide my feedback. Another thing that I do is I have learning proof folders. And with my learning proof folders, I have one for every single unit. Again, the targets are known to the students, and I will ask for certain items within these learning proof folders, but then the students also have an option where they can provide evidence as well, so that if I haven't necessarily seen that evidence on a test or through assignments, they can provide evidence too. And it can be something I assigned, it can be something that they found online, and something that really proves it to them, to me and to them, that, hey, I've got this. I tell them that that's almost like them being a lawyer and having to prove their case to me that, okay, I really have this, Mrs. Osterman. Maybe I didn't quite show it to you on a test, but I've got it now. I think that having that relationship where students know that it is ongoing, that I'm there for them. We celebrate mistakes. Mistakes lead to a better understanding.
They're
so why
posted
not
on
celebrate?
their wall.
They're posted.
Literally, they're
They are
posted.
part of the bulletin board. And the students like to have their work shown, so they know that that's something positive when their work is shown. So showing a mistake, at first they thought, why are you showing my mistake? And I said, we're celebrating it. It's great. You learned from your mistake. When they make a mistake, I have them corrected in green, and that means you need to go back. You have a little bit more work to do, a little bit more understanding. And then I have them reflect in red, and they either reflect, they revise, or they redo. And so they've learned from that mistake, and it's at that point that we celebrate that, okay, I got this. And it's such a sense of accomplishment for them and for me that, hey, we're all in this together.
So students are really part of the process, and they're doing reflecting on their own. And they're getting that immediate feedback. So that's really a great way to go about. Feedback's so important for kids and their learning, for all of us.
Well, they don't just get a paper back that says you got an 80% on that. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to them. And so to be able to go back and look and see, oh, I understand, that makes all the difference.
So,
And I've told the parents too, because sometimes the parents
Right.
aren't too sure what that's all about. They're used to that test being the final. And I've said to the parents, if you failed your driver's test, you probably remember what it was that you did wrong. You probably don't remember the 100 things that you did right.
Right.
So when a student gets something back and they see that they got something wrong, let's take that as a learning opportunity and make sure that we grow from that.
and I appreciate that even in the assessment process, that there's still teaching and learning going on. It's not as if, well, we're done teaching and now you just have to show us. It's a continued opportunity to teach and for kids to continue their understanding. So are there other things either of you would like to share that make the middle school such a special place to teach and learn?
Well, it is exciting time too, because it is a place where all of the elementaries, this is going to be their graduating class. So we have 7 different buildings coming together. So that's really exciting. But there's just so much that we're doing. I mean, we're reflecting, teachers are reflecting in journals and sharing that with a colleague, and we're just taking time to be reflective of our practice so that we continue to grow. So there's lots of exciting things happening, and Wendy and I were saying earlier when we were talking about being here today, there's so much, like, what do we even say? What do we do? Like, I want to say this, and we just kept thinking, like, there's so much that's happening there. We welcome people to come in and look at what's going on at Sasheville Middle School, because we're really proud of it too.
For me, I think that it's like my second family. When I go there every day, I know that I am going to be encouraged, and if I'm having a bad day, there's going to be someone there to listen. There's going to be someone to laugh and cry with me and inspire me every single day. And if there's a need in our building, we all jump to that need and we make sure that that need is met. It's truly amazing.
That's really wonderful to hear. So is there anything you would change about education, and why would you change it?
It's a totally loaded question, but we talked a little, I'm not sure. There's a few things I would change, but one thing that we kind of hit on today was our use of formative assessment is so much more helpful with the data that we receive than these large standardized tests from the state. They don't give us the information that we need. We need this quick, down and dirty kind of data so that we know how to change our curriculum or change even what we're teaching in that moment to have better service students and to differentiate our instruction to each individual student. So one test does not fit all, and we find that very difficult. So I think those mandates from the state are struggling, that we struggle with those sometimes.
So I've been teaching now for about 17 years, and I've seen a lot of great changes in education. I've seen this increase in collaboration, not just among teachers, but with administrators and teachers, including yourself, which is just wonderful. It just helps us to really grow. It's went more from isolation to this collaborative. I also have seen changes in the standards and what we expect with the students. And we are not up there at the board telling the students what to do anymore. The students are mathematicians in our class. They're developing a much better conceptual understanding. Having some common standards, I'm able to collaborate not only with teachers that are in my building, but outside of my building, and even in different states. Some of the teachers that I graduated with are in California or Ohio, wherever, and we still talk, and we do collaborate, which is great. If I had to change something, I think I have 2 things that I would want to change, and one of them is on the student side. And sometimes you're in the moment in the class and the student is asking these great questions and they have these great wonderings and you want to dig deeper. And sometimes we don't really even know what that deeper is. We might need to pull in a science teacher or a language arts teacher, and then the bell rings. And so I would really like that flexibility, if somehow we could change it so that there's just a little bit more flexibility with the students. And then, kind of similar, is that I would like there to be even more opportunities for teachers to collaborate and learn from each other and meet the needs of our students, because I've seen such great progress with our professional learning communities, and I know that it's benefiting the students. And so those 2 things, I'm not sure exactly what that would look like, but if I could change that, that's what I would change.
Okay, thank you. Well, I really appreciate, Liz and Wendy, you being on the show and sharing the things that make Clarkston special. And I always feel fortunate I get to go and visit all of our schools and have conversations with teachers and principals. And then I always want to share the different things that are happening between buildings, because we don't always know what goes on and from one building to another, and our community doesn't know. And I think when they do hear things about the layers and the levels of collaboration and feedback that are going on, and the way that kids are involved in the learning and how everything works together, I think that this really helps to clarify the things that are most important, and the fact that our people are really experts and very passionate about what they do, and it's the people who make Clarkston special. So thank you for taking the time to tune in, and we'll see you again soon.